idea if anyone is on at this time at 3 a.m. I guess we're about to find out. This will be interesting. We're gonna see. I assume some people are on at this time, but in other places, maybe not in America. Maybe. Right now it's almost 3 a.m. where I'm at. So I'm gonna get into it. This, first of all, let me apologize. Lord Jesus, be with me. Help me to speak to your people. I don't know how to save these things. Every time I try and save them, it just keeps loading. I think I'll try it again with this one. It keeps loading for hours on end, but I'll try again and see. And if after a day it's still not uploaded, I'm gonna maybe reach out to YouTube and see if they can help me. But sorry about not being able to save them. I know some people have joined me and I appreciate that. Unfortunately, yeah, I don't know how to save it. So you have to catch it in real time or don't catch it at all, unfortunately, for the here and the now. Today's message is going to be about God's mercy and his communications and how seeing God is actually up to us. This is going to be part 1. Excuse me. And I'm just going to stay here for a second, and if no one comes on in about 5 minutes, I think I'll just end it because I'm not sure, like, I don't know if I need to do this right now or I should do this, like, at a later time or not. We'll just see. But some people have joined. Hi, how's it going? How are you? Having a good day? Hi, I see you. I'm saying hi. Hi. Good, good. I'm glad. So we'll just see. I think I'll probably end up staying here, but we'll see. Anyways, so this is gonna be more, this isn't just gonna be a one-part thing. The communications of God is a very hefty thing. I've done videos on it before. I can't remember the title of it, but I think it's something like all the ways in which God communicates that I'm aware of. Thanks. Don't distract me, but thank you. I appreciate it. But now you threw me off. But all the ways in which the Lord communicates, from what I have been able to understand, is about 30, I think. And that's just based off of my time spent with him, my experiences, my revelation. There are people like my pastor who knows way more than I do, and he's experienced God's communications like so much more. So I do not claim to know all the ways in which God communicates, nor will I believe I ever will, but I do know a few different ways through trial and error. Um, sometimes when he communicates, it's something I miss. Sometimes when he communicates, I get it, but I don't fully get it, so I end up missing it, to be honest. There have been times when he's communicated that I thought it was me, and then I realize Wait, how would I even know that? That's like so, like above my pay grade. How can I speak with a prophetic unction and know details about people or a situation or something to come, and there's literally no logic to it. There's no rhyme or reason behind it. Um to be honest, I used to think that that was just in my pride. I used to think that I just was a really deep person, if I'm just being honest. Hallelujah, he has delivered me from that way of thought, but um that goes to show that, you know, the prophetic unction that he gives us, he gives it to us from the beginning, and hopefully we realize where it comes from and we're edified in spirit, and then it's like, oh, okay, that was actually God, that's not just me. Because if I think it's me, then that creates a very prideful situation where I just, I think I'm right, and oh, look at me, I've got this way of like knowing things, blah blah blah, and then it can just cause a whole bunch of error. So we all need to realize when God graces us with something that it's from him, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. I hope I haven't rambled too much. But anyways, I am not going to read the comments because I do not want them to distract me, but anyways, let me just get into what the Lord told me to tell. So the verse that we're going to look at right now is Matthew 5. This is in the Beatitudes section. Um, and it said, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God." Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. If you're reading that just on the surface level, you might think like, oh, if I'm just pure in heart, I'm gonna see God, like physically speaking. And that's not what that means. When we're talking about seeing God, we're talking about being able to understand or comprehend him being in a situation. Seeing God is a very interesting thing because from person to person it can look very different. Some people, their testimony is that they've either been in the worst place in their life, or they're in the worst place of their life and they still see the hand of God. For instance, that's actually my real life circumstances right now. If I told you what was going on with me, you'd be like, why are you believing in this? And if I'm not careful, if I look at the storms around me, I would say the exact same thing. So there's a need to, it's like that verse that who who is it? The disciples are with Jesus and they're in the boat and they're looking at the waves, and Jesus is like, "What's up?" Like, you're focusing on the wrong thing, and therefore you think God's abandoned you. You don't think he's there, you don't think he's real, whatever. Um so you have to keep your focus on him, whether things are good or whether things are bad. But some people, their testimony is that, they've been through so much and they see God. There's other people who have been largely blessed, and honestly, many times they don't see God, unfortunately. Kind of going back to my introduction, the example that I used about, you know, being in pride and thinking, oh, I have this because of how I worked, and I have that because of this, and because my parents, or because of whatever the case is. And the thing with that is, if you are looking for God, you'll see him. And if you're not, you won't see him. I guarantee you that for every open door, in every position that you found yourself in, there is the ability to get there, to maintain it, your intellectual abilities, your favor in that area of your life, whether it be like relationships or jobs or whatever the case is. And all of that didn't come from you. You didn't elect yourself to stand in that position, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I hope that's not confusing, but um yeah, I don't know what the heck is going on with these comments right now, but you know what? God bless. We're talking about Jesus here, so if you're not interested in that, that's okay. But um anyways, so what was the verse that I said? Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see the face of God. In order to see God, regardless of your circumstances, you have to have a posture of humility. Outside of that, you'll never see God. I've talked about it before as you have to come to the end of self. If you don't come to the end of self, you'll always be able to logic the situation to where, oh, that wasn't God, that was this. That wasn't God, that was that. And this is why I say you have to actually genuinely want to see him. Now, unfortunately, there's this flaw that all of us have where we can swear by the fact that we're so genuine and still miss it and still hurt people and still be in error. In fact, most of the time, when we do the wrong thing, we actually have the right motives behind it, you know. An example is like if you're trying to be there for someone and maybe you're not there for them in the way that they need, maybe you're there for them in a way that will make you feel good, or just, you know, however you know how to be there for them, if that makes sense. Like, you don't know exactly what they need because instead of actually listening to them, you're too busy trying to solve their problem. That's a really common one, you know. Thanks for trying to stand up for me in the comments. I see you. I appreciate it. Layla, I see you. Thank you. I don't know what was said, but I'm not really interested anyways, so um it's okay. So anyways, you have to be pure in heart to see God. That means that regardless of your circumstances, you still have an ability to see God. Your circumstances don't, nor can they speak to the validity of God existing or not. If it was just based off of circumstances, then he really wouldn't be a good God, and he certainly wouldn't exist. But yeah, you have to maintain a posture of purity. You have to maintain a posture of humility to be able to see him. Now, seeing him, if I didn't make it clear, is not physically seeing him. I know some people have had that kind of experience with God, and that's awesome if you have, like, not taking anything away from that. I firmly believe in that, but seeing him, like I said earlier, is just the ability to know that he is with you regardless of anything, you know. Seeing him is knowing that even despite my circumstances, I know that there is someone who is looking out for me. I know that there is someone who loves me. I know that there is someone who is gonna see me through this difficult situation. That is seeing God. That is truly seeing God. Has nothing to do with um physically seeing him. Some people think if I see God, let me say it better. Some people think in order for me to believe in God, I have to see him. I have to have him appear to me physically, or I have to have this, or I have to have that. Now, sometimes within his mercy, he will meet us with what we need. Um, Biblical example of this would be um, doubting Thomas. He said, I won't believe until I can touch him, something to that effect. And Lord Jesus made a way for that to happen. My personal take on that, take it or leave it, is just that he knows the heart of the person who's saying, I need this to believe. And sometimes we say that, I need him to show up in this way. Actually, most times, to be honest, most times we say, I need him to show up, in this way or that way, and then I will believe. And it's not genuine. We deceive ourselves. It says in the word that above all things, our heart is deceitful and desperately wicked. That means that we need to have the realization, even if you're saved and sanctified and, you've had testimonies of deliverance and all that stuff, we have to maintain a posture of humility, once again, and realizing that at any point, we're subject to the blinders of flesh. We're subject to the blinders of self, and we may miss it. We can think that we're so genuine. Oh my gosh, we can think that we're so genuine, and really we're not. It gets worse when the Lord, when you have the ability to hear in the spirit, it gets worse to hear other people, and people will swear that they mean something so genuine, and it's like, let's examine this a little bit deeper. Let's examine this a little bit farther. Classic example. Someone might point out something that's wrong with you as a way of like, I'm going to help you. I'm going to like show you where you're missing it. But if someone points out something that's wrong with you and they leave you in that place, like they say, like, you are, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but just, you're like this, blah, blah, blah. And then they just leave you there. That creates a level of chaos and offense and hurt that most people will honestly take and then become like offended towards that person. Maybe what that person showed had a little bit of truth in it, but because their approach was, I'm going to point out something that's wrong with you, genuine or not, and they just left you there. Now it's like, okay, well, what do I do with this? It just feels like I was just attacked. And that's one of the main problems that we have, not only in the faith, but like in a general sense. People are quick to point out other people's problems, so quick to point out, other people's problems, but not being willing to help them, not being willing to lift them out of that place of like, you have a problem with this, here's the solution, let me help you, let's walk this out together. If we had that disposition, for one thing, people wouldn't be so easily offended, which is like a serious problem right now. People are really offended. And even though there's a spirit of offense, so to speak. It's not an actual spirit, but it's just a way of explaining kind of the disposition of things. There is a spirit of offense, especially in the United States, where everyone is offended by everything and nothing at the same time somehow. And while some of it is just us being too emotional, too in our flesh, some of it is also how people come across. They're not genuine, unfortunately. And it's sad, to be honest. It's really sad because if we're looking at this from a spiritual perspective, God is not ever, 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 I don't care what he told you or what you think he told you, he is never going to highlight a problem in you in a situation with someone else. He's never going to highlight a problem and not give you the solution to lift yourself up out of it. He is the solution, first and foremost. Let's just get that out of the way. But he's not just pointing out things just to leave you there. That would be evil. That would be absolutely evil. There's no way in which he could be a good God, a loving God, and just be like, you're missing it there, sucker. Like he doesn't operate like that. And especially this is true when we're talking about other people. He is not going to at all point out faults in someone else that you cannot help them out of through his power, I mean. Um, if he is pointing out something where someone is missing it, he's going to equip you to pray for them. He's going to equip you to intercede for them. He's going to equip you to fast for them if necessary. If you didn't know, that is absolutely a thing. He's not going to do it just to talk about that person. That would be gossip. So, and that's actually, no, let me not deviate. Sorry. Let me stay focused. But yeah, that's a lot of the issue that we see today in our world, that people aren't genuine. People, we think that we're genuine based off our own understanding, but when you apply a little bit of spiritual understanding to it, you'll realize, oh no, I missed it there. I thought that I was really saying something, but nope, I missed it. I absolutely missed it. So um and I myself, I'll just share that I have experience with that. This was more of a maturity thing, more so than God, but God has helped me maintain this posture. But to be honest, when I was younger, I used to be a little bit manipulative. And sometimes I would say or do something, to make myself look less like, the bad person here or whatever. Sometimes I would point out stuff just to make other people feel bad, to be honest, or that would go hand in hand with making me not look so bad. And it was not genuine. Even if I was right with what I pointed out, it wasn't genuine. And thank God I've matured out of that, but you know, I've had to learn that with hearing in the spirit, which is the gifting that God has given me, I have to walk with grace because it's very easy to be like, sorry, I know what spirit that came from. I know you're not genuine because of this, this, and this. But if I take that posture towards people, I will become very arrogant. So Lord help me. Anyways, going back to the main topic, seeing God is just the ability to knowing that he's there and in any circumstances you can face in life, that he's got you. And that is actually your own choice. He's not going to make you see him. He's not going to do that. He has made himself available to all people, but he's not going to force you to see him, if that makes sense. Um and I was talking about how some people say that they need, they need to see him in a certain way, but I had a friend who thought like that, and that was her holdup. She's like, "Well, I need God to show himself in this way and in that way or whatever, and then I will believe in him." The issue with that is whatever roadblocks, stumbling blocks, however you want to say that, that led you to not be able to see him in the first place will still be present. Seeing God doesn't necessarily mean believing, to be honest. A lot of people, their realization of who God is, I mean, it's different, from person to person. Some people, I think this is so beautiful and speaks to how powerful our Jesus is. Some people have seen and come to know God because of looking at nature, because of studying plants and animals. Some people this, some people that, you know, a whole, but there's so many different testimonies out there, too many. And just because one thing worked for someone over here doesn't mean it necessarily will work for you over here. We as human beings really like to justify ourselves. And so if you have an encounter with God in a really specific way, really profound way, I should say, if you don't have the revelation of him being who he says that he is, you might dismiss it and say, wow, I was really tired that day, or, you know, wow, I've just hallucinated. I thought Jesus came and spoke to me, blah, blah, blah. Now I do want to make it clear that most of the time he's not showing himself in those profound ways. He's capable of doing that. He can do that. I have had some pretty profound testimonies, not quite seeing him, but other things. But um you'll dismiss it as this and that, and he's not incentivized to come and meet you when and where you're not ready to be able to receive him, if that makes sense. Um Thank you. Thank you, Layla. Sorry, I'm trying to focus so I'm not like looking at the comments so much, but I appreciate you standing up for me. I really do. Um it's actually really rare that people stand up for one another, unfortunately. So, um I see you and I appreciate you, and God sees it too. So, thank you. Um See, I get distracted. um I don't know how y'all like God calling me to do this is strictly God, because I know that I am not that skilled with speech. I know that I'm not comfortable being on here. I really don't. I don't know what was said in those comments, but part of me is like, oh, I want to go look, but then another part of me is like, no, you might get upset. Don't look at that. So you know what? I don't know how and why God called me to do this. I kind of feel like who is it? Aaron? No, not Aaron. Moses. Was it Moses who said that he's like, well, I stutter when I talk or something like that. That's how I feel right now. Like, it's like, okay, well, I guess this is all you, Lord, because I don't necessarily want this. Anyways, trying to think if there's anything else he wants me to expand on. I hope this made sense about what I was saying about pure in heart. Those are the only ones that will see the Lord, is a pure in heart, the humble. One example that came to me that I thought was really beautiful was when I mentioned that, there's so many different testimonies of how people have come to know Jesus. And regardless of your circumstances, you will either see him or you won't, depending on your level of humility. Sometimes I will watch those videos on here that um, go to like homeless people and help them, give them money, bless them, whatever the case is. And so many of them will say like, "Oh my gosh, God bless you," or "Oh, you're an angel," or "Wow, God has blessed me today," or something like that. And I'm like, that is so interesting that them who have nothing, that are literally on the street, don't have any food, whatever the case is, they can still say, God has blessed me today. Isn't that something? I just think that speaks to the power of Christ, that he can be seen even in darkness, because that's where he's really seen, right? You know, if everything was perfect, we would never see God. We would never see him. That's why he's called the light of the world, too. Um, I think that's the gist of everything that I needed to share. Um, I do believe tomorrow, or even possibly later today, to be honest, um, I might need to do like kind of a follow up on this and talk about, excuse me, the communications of God, because that's a really loaded thing, you know. Like I say, there's so many different communications of him, and it it's a lot of trial and error, but it's really, really beneficial to start understanding the different ways in which he speaks, because ah the more you look for him, the more he'll be found. The more communications you're able to understand, okay, that was God, that wasn't me. That was me, that wasn't God. The more you can fine tune how his spirit speaks, the more you'll see him. The more you'll see him, the more you'll grow in grace and humility. And the more you will see of him, and the more you will see of him, the more he'll speak. Like, it's just this beautiful cyclical thing. Um, let me go back to this verse just to see if he says anything else to me. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Nope, I don't think so. So I think that's all that the Lord wanted me to share. If I come back, I'll come back in like a few hours, or like later in the day or something like that. However God graces me, I'll let you know. But thank you for joining. I hope you have a good day and everything. Thank you for standing up for me, Miss Layla, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.